Okay, we got up to Lamed Ches Amid Beis, where Rav made a statement. He said that there were 4 Tanoim who agreed with Rabbi Elazar's opinion that it's 2 separate Kedushos. And as such, you can make an Erev on one day in one direction and another Erev in another direction, 2 separate days. Okay, so Frakti Gemara, so about 10 lines down, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel Bar, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika Ibcha Shaminalo. How could you say, and he mentioned the 4 Tanoim. Rav said Allah is like four Zakenim, following Rabbi Elazar Shita, and 2 of the Tanoim, or Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. But Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Shmuel ben Oishel ben Broka, they seem to say in the Brisa the other way around. That Ein Ma'arav Braglav B'Sheni, you can't make an Erev in the second day because a separate Erev, because it's all one day. There's no requirement to make an Erev on the second day because it's all one Kedusha and it all flows. Therefore, whatever you're doing on the first day automatically is done for the second day. So, Vayibcha Shaminalu, it's Eipach. So the answer is that, again, another editing situation where as far as Rav is concerned, the Brisa needs to say the opposite. He turns it around. Let's see, Ibcha Sheminalei Le'el. So Rashi says that we have the exact opposite referenced earlier. V'chein, let's see here, back to the Gemara. So, Iyachi Hainu Rebbe. Well, if that's the case, that in that brisa, instead of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Shmuel ben Oishel Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka arguing with Rabbi, you're saying that they're actually agreeing with Rabbi, right? So we're not switching people; we're just switching what they say. Instead of them saying Erev Braglav Brishon Ein Ma'arev Braglav B'Sheni, they Rav learns that if you make an Erev with your feet on the first day, you can make your Erev with the feet on the second day, again, in a different direction. So you're basically switching their words around, but then that would be the same as Rebbe. Then what's the machlokas? Why would these 2 Tanoim be brought in a brisa to repeat exactly the same position that Rebbe started off saying in the beginning of the brisa? It doesn't seem to make sense. So he says, to what Shemar says, Aim of V'chein Amar Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. So you just have to change one word and add V'chein. When you say V'chein, well then the Bryce is simply bringing support to Rabbi's position, and obviously that reads much better. I V'lech Shavnami Rebbe. Why does Rav only mention 4 following the sheet of Rabbi Shimon ben Rabbi Elazar rather? Why only 4? Why not Rebbe? Rebbe clearly in this Bryce reflects that position as well. And these Tanoim are just simply following Rebbe's lead. V'lach Shavnami Rebbe. And the answer is, Rebbe Tanalav Loisavala. Because as far as Rav is concerned, Rebbe, while he learned that position in the Brisa, that it's 2 separate Kedushos, and an Erev on one day doesn't automatically make for an Erev on the second day, you can make a different Erev in a different direction. It says, but he doesn't personally hold that way. He was reflecting Rabbi Elazar's position, but he doesn't personally agree with that position. So that's why Rav did not mention Rebbe, because we're talking about people who they themselves hold that way, that it's 2 Kedushas, and Rebbe personally doesn't hold that way. So, well, if that's the case, then how do you know that these 2 Tanoim hold that way? Rabbananami Tanul of Loisavrele. Maybe these 2 other Tanoim who Rav does mention and lists as the big 4 Tanoim who follow Rabbi Elazar's position. How do you know that they follow Rabbi Elazar's position? Maybe they too are reflecting Rabbi Elazar's position, but they don't personally hold that way. So how do you know to count them as part of the group, as part of these 4? So to which the Gemara says, Rav Gemara Gomir Law. So the answer is that Rav had a Messiah. Rav wasn't saying that it's not because he saw Brises. He wasn't just looking at people. He knows that people could be saying things in a Bryce that don't reflect their opinions. They reflect other opinions. So none of that really mattered to Rav. What mattered to Rav is his Messiah. He had a Messiah that this was the way it is, and that's what he was saying. He wasn't saying anything that he based on the Brises, and therefore none of that really mattered to him. And maybe, well, in other words, he knows that was not the case. He knows Alpi Messiah that those two Tanaim are reflecting their own positions. Let's see Rashi. V'lech Shavnami V'chein, about 10 lines down from the narrow lines, right after Ibcha Shaminallah, V'chein Reb Shimon. So you have to add V'chein. If it's eaten up on the first day, you cannot go out on the second day, because again, it's two separate kedusha. So what happened on the first day doesn't help you for the second day. And that's exactly what Rebbe holds, and these Tanoim now follow in that reasoning. Why is Rebbe not part of the big four? Why did they leave him out? He clearly states that two separate kedushas. The Shamin Leil Be'edya, who clearly stated his position in the Bryce explicitly. The answer is Tanul Avloi Sevala. He learned it, but he doesn't agree with it. He was simply reflecting Rebbe Elazar's position. It's a legitimate position. I personally don't hold of it, but for me to state that position in a Bryce is totally appropriate because it is Rebbe Elazar's position. He was a great Tana, but if you ask Rebbe personally what should one do, he would not say go along with that opinion. Well, if that's the case, Rabbanami Hanach Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Shmuel Nidik Tani V'chein. If they're granted that they said the word V'chein in the Bryce, and that's how you edited the Bryce to make sense, Dilma Tanuv Lo Savrlei. Maybe they too learned it like Rebbe learned it, but they don't agree with it like Rebbe didn't agree with it. Especially if you have a V'chein, maybe they're totally following in line with Rebbe, and they're just saying another Tana's opinion, but not their own. To which Gemara says, Rav Gemor Gomerle, Mirabei. Rav had a Messiah from his Rebbeim, from his Rebbe. Dahanach Arba Zakedim Srilu Rebbe Lazar of Rebbe Tanul of Savala. But that was part of his Messiah. His Messiah was Rebbe personally does not follow that Shita. But these Tanoim do, so therefore he knew it based on what he received from his Rebbeim and not an Einachami. Can you wiggle out of it technically? Yeah, you could, but that's just not the way it was. Fine. So now we're ready to go weiter. Kinoch nafshe. So a new story here. Kinoch nafshe de Rav Huna. When Rav Huna passed away, Ayil Rav Chizda lemirma de Rav. So Rav Chizda came into the base medrash to ask a stira between one Rav and another Rav. Rav, we already have quoted, is saying that these four Tanoim follow Rabbi Elazar's Shita, that it's two different Kedushos, so what happens on one day doesn't help you for the next day, and you have the freedom to move in another direction. So, really, is that what he says? Is it really true that Rav held, we follow the four elders in following Rabbi Elazar's Shita, Domashtei Kedusha, saying who say it's two separate Kedushas, really? Va'itmar, but didn't we also learn Shabbos v'Yontif, when you have a Shabbos backing up to a Yontif back to back, Shabbos and then Yontif, or Yontif and then Shabbos, doesn't really matter. Shabbos v'Yontif, Rav Amar Noldo b'zeh asur b'zeh. That which was hatched on one day is also on the second day because of Nolad. And and what does that reflect? If something was hatched on Friday is Yontif, and it was hatched on Friday, you can't have it on Shabbos. Why not? If Shabbos is a second day and it's a separate day and it's a separate kedusha, like Rav was saying, with these four Tanoim, it was hatched on Friday is also on Friday because there's no lot on Friday. But it shouldn't be also on Shabbos. On Shabbos it should be perfectly fine. And if you're having a concert and you're a baritone and you want to swallow the raw egg, kol hakavod, go for it. Why is it usher? So Amar Rabba says, Hasa mishum hachana. It's not because of nolad, it's because of hachana. It's a different concept, and it's similar to what we were saying yesterday, that things can't be prepared on one day of Shabbos or Yontif for the next day of Shabbos or Yontif. The Tanya, leaving an Erev Tavshilin out, which we know is the method by which we prepare on Yontif for Shabbos, that's a different issue. The Tanya, as we learned in the Brisa, Vaya b'yom hashishi, the pasuk says very clearly on the sixth day by the Mon, vechinu, they prepared. So that Friday was not Yontif, and certainly that Friday we know was not Shabbos. So that is when you're mechin. The Torah is very clear about when you're mechin. You're mechin on a weekday Friday, okay, a non-sanctified Friday for Shabbos. So we learn from there, Chol mechin l'Shabbos, v'chol mechin l'Yontif. You can prepare on Friday for Shabbos. You can prepare on a weekday for Yontif. However, v'ein Yontif mechin l'Shabbos. You can't prepare on Yontif for Shabbos. V'ein Shabbos mechin l'Yontif. Nor can Shabbos be a day in which you prepare for Yontif. So having a egg hatch on, or laid, an egg laid on Shabbos should not be allowed on the next day, because you can't have this day prepare for the next day. Okay, so
the chicken doesn't have that requirement.
Well, it came into the world.
It came into the world, but actually, don't we hold this thing that the egg was really there a few days before? And there's a whole argument as to really when the egg came into the world.
Well, I mean, we generally go with the idea that if an egg was laid on Yontif, it's usher that day. Maybe back in Beya there's a machlokas there somewhere along the way, but the standard position is it's muksa. So so not only is it also that day, it cannot be a day in which you prepare for another day, which is kadosh. Okay, and that's the problem, right? So if the next day was a chol dika day, go ahead. Now you can take it. But to take something that was prepared on a holy day, on another holy day, that can't be done. So why not?
Sorry, is this a different concept than the hachana that we use in Erev Tavshilin for?
Not necessarily. No.
No one's doing an action here.
Okay, well that's true, but it's under the same banner, even though it's not the same type of idea. But the idea of hachana is even a passive. Well, it's not. No, you have nolad for that day, but nolad's not the problem for the next day. It wasn't nolad the next day. Right. Hachana is a problem for the next day. The Gemara is introducing. Right, so the Gemara is answering. This is the end. Right, the question was, we have a stira that it seems like it's one big kedusha. To which the Gemara answers, Rabba is introducing this hachana concept, which is, yes, it's part of the big issue of Erev Tavshilin in terms of getting around that problem. If hachana is deraisa, then Erev Tavshilin is going to be an issue. So we got to get around hachana. Let's catch up in the Rashis here for a minute. No Rashis. Wow. Okay, no Rashis. So Omale Abaye says, really? So you're telling me that an egg gets laid rather on Yontif, that it's now also for Shabbos, and that's the reason. Nolda b'zeh surah b'zeh, right? That's what Rav said, right? That was the halacha that created a stira. And now we're saying that it's not a stira because that's a special hachana issue. So Amle Abai Ele Hadatan. Wait a minute. If there's a hachana issue like that, what about this mission that says Kesar Osem? What should you do? Molicho barishon umach shechalav. Right. So we talked about. This is the issue of making two erevs. Ketzero. So what should you do? Malicha brishon. You take it on the first day, umach shechalav, and you wait for it to get dark. Right. So when you make your erev for the Thursday night yontif, v'notla ubalo, and then you bring it back home so you have it protected. B'sheni mach shalav, and on Friday afternoon you bring it out there and you wait for it to get dark. Right. This is the Chachamim talking now. In the Mishnah, on Monday, on the second day, which is Friday afternoon, you take it out and you wait for Shabbos and you wait for it to get dark. V'yochlo ubalo, okay, and you eat it and you can come back and now you have your erev for the second day. So you're requiring to make an Erev on the second day. Well, wait a minute. And this, you sort of asked this question, I think, when we first learned the Mishnah. Well, how could you make that Erev on a Friday afternoon for Shabbos? Why isn't this an issue of Achana? You're preparing an Erev, right? This should be even worse, right? This is sort of an action as opposed to just something that gets laid on one day, also the next day. Here, you're mamish doing an action of making an Erev Tavshilin. I'm sorry, making an Erev Tchumen on Friday afternoon for you to be able to walk the second day. Why is that Achana? So Omalei Rabba says, and it's a very subtle Gemara, there's very subtle differences here in terms of these separate lines of activity and prohibition. Let's take a look. Omalei Rabba, mi savrit seif hayoim kaina Erev. Do you really think that at when was the Erev activated? Which is a discussion we've had already a number of times in this Masechta. Do you think the Erev is activated at the end of Friday? In which case the Erev needed to be to sort of take effect at a day that is prohibited to prepare for Shabbos, right? Because Friday was Yontif. So if you hold that the Erev is activated at the end of Friday, well, then you got a good point. And you are making an Erev on Friday so that you can walk 2,000 Amis on Shabbos. That would be Hachana. So Misavra, do you really think Sofa Yom Kona Erev? Tchilas Yom Kona Erev. The Erev is activated at the beginning of Friday night. On Shabbos, that's when it's activated. On Shabbos already, there's no Hachana, because it's already Shabbos, right? There's no problem with being Meichen on Shabbos for Shabbos, right? You're allowed to make egg salad Friday night for Shabbos morning, assuming you do it in the right way. But, right, so that's not a problem. So when you're making, if you're making an Erev Tchumen, Eruve Tchumen on Friday night for the remaining 24 hours of Shabbos, that's fine. Okay, he says, Mi Savret Hayoim Kaina, and Shabbos being mechin for itself, so it's not a problem. So this is interesting. In other words, the action you did is the same action, but since it didn't become relevant, right, till Shabbos, it's not called achana. It's an interesting thing because you needed to walk out there, you needed to get there, okay, or you needed to have the challah out there, right? You brought the challah back, but bringing the challah back, if it's not doing something on Friday for Shabbos, that's not called achana. It's only when what you're doing becomes significant of an act, that's when the achana kicks in. Subtle difference. Let's take a look at Rashi. Not too many Rashis here. Misavrit Seif Hayoim Shel Erev Shabbos Kain Erev. Do you think the end of Friday, when it's still Friday, the last second of Friday is when the Erev is activated? The Yontif Mechel Shabbos, which would then have it qualify as a case of Yontif preparing for Shabbos. That's not what's going on here. It's a case where Shabbos is Mechel Shabbos. Really says back to the Gemara. Okay, we don't have any other Rashis here. Well, Elamiata says the Gemara. Wait a minute. If you're right that the beginning of Shabbos is when the Erev gets activated, that first second of actual Shabbos, when you've completely disconnected from Yontif, and now you're in Shabbos mode. Elamiata yarva belogin. Okay, why not allow those little jars that had Shumas Meiser in it, and the Shumas Meiser is only designated once Shabbos hits? Okay, why would that not be valid? So Bishlema, if you needed it to be activated before, then it wasn't edible before, and you can't because the Trumas Meiser only kicked in on Shabbos. Okay, but if you hold that the Erev is activated at the same time that the Trumas Meiser becomes edible, then there's no reason why it shouldn't be good. Let's take a look at Rashi in this case of login. Yarvu belogin, login full yom. That these little jars that were tamei, you put them in the mikveh, and now they have the status of its full yom, which means they need nightfall to become fully tahar. The Tan leil bepirkin, we learned earlier in the parak, shemilu min achavish shel tevel. Okay, you fill them up from a chavis of tevel, and tevel, of course, has no problem with its full yom because it doesn't have any aversion to its full yom. It's not holy. If anything, it's in its exact opposite state. It needs to be taken care of. So it's inedible because of its lack of holiness and because of the fact that it wasn't Trumas Meiser was not taken from it. So these login full yom, which have tevel in it right now, so the bar tenura right now has not been rectified and it's all tevel. The Omar, and you say harei Trumas Meiser l'chsher techshach, this should be considered Trumas Meiser when it gets dark, okay, because again, he doesn't want it to become contaminated, so you have to wait. And once it gets dark, the login are totally tar, right? So this becomes tar the minute, the next night comes, the minute Shabbos hits. So, and what's halacha? Dvarav kayamin. His words are valid. And the Trumas Meiser is in there, and you're good to go, and you can kohen can drink from the wine. But if he says, I want to make an eruv with this wine, I want the wine to be the food for the eruv. He didn't say a thing. Now, why didn't he say anything? No, must be Alma. What does that tell me? That since it's not a valid eruv, Alma Seifa Yom Eruv, that the Eruv is activated at the end of Friday. Is this wine permissible at the end of Friday? No, because the wine was said to become Trumas Meiser and then become edible to the Kohen only once Shabbos hits. So that 2 second difference, the last second of Friday, as opposed to the first second of Shabbos, that makes all the difference in the world as to whether it was edible or not. But if it's only activated on Shabbos Erev, then the wine is permissible because at that point it became Trumas Meiser and it's good to go. So I'm proving to you that the day, we really actually had this concept before, that the day really starts, that the Erev is really activated from the daytime, from the last moment of Friday, as opposed to the first second of Shabbos. So what's going on? Alma sofa yom kona eruv v'kati tevelhu, and it's still tevel, and it's unedible. So it seems to fly in the face of your position that it's the beginning of Shabbos that allows the eruv to get activated. To which the Gemara says you missed a point. No, the fact that the eruv is not valid has nothing to do with the fact that it doesn't become activated until it activates at the last second of Friday, which would disrupt this whole concept of achana, because we need it to be activated on Shabbos. So I prove to you that it's activated on Friday because it's not a valid eruv in the login case. The answer is no. The reason why it's not valid in the login case, back to the Gemara. Veleka, Ella, 1 second. So that was just a quick question, a lot behind the question of Yerva Belogin, to which the Gemara then responds, Be'inon Suda Harim Bajon Veleka. The Erev is activated the first second of Shabbos, not on Friday. But, and here's the big but you need to be able to eat it on Friday. You needed to be able to eat it when Shabbos comes, as Friday transitions into Shabbos. This was not edible at that point. So why wasn't it edible? Because it was tevel at that point. Since it's tevel, it does not work. Okay?
You said that all along, and it has to be edible. You have to be able to get to it, or some way of getting to it.
Okay, so that's what we're saying again. We had this question answer before, and we're reiterating it again. I guess, different contexts, different discussions, but yes, we had this point before, and we had this answer before. That's
what they're trying to say is if Ben Hashmashos, the last second of Ben Hashmashos, it changes from Tevel, then they're saying it's okay, and if it's the first second of Shabbos, it's no longer Ben Hashmashos, it changes, then it's not okay.
That's right. But it's not okay. It's not okay, not because of the fact that it was activated at the time that it was Tevel. It was not activated at the time when it was Tevel. It was activated when the time was actually Trumas Meiser. So why isn't that okay? Because there's another superimposed condition that needs to be fit for eating at that point. Even though it's not activated. It's an interesting comment. Why do it have to be fit for eating? It should be fit for eating when it's activated. Teretzis, since you don't know exactly what time, it needs to be right for you, during Ben Hashmashos period, and here it's not. Okay, so let's keep going.
Isn't this thing that has to be roy on actual Friday?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Not Friday.
No, but me be'od yom.
yeah, the last right.
So it has to be right. So
Well, I think the point is because we don't know when Friday leaves and when Shabbos comes, so it has to be. There is a moment we might not know when the last second of Friday is, but it needs to be ready already from Friday as it transitions into Shabbos. I think the word is that somewhere in the Beit Hashmosho's time frame is the last second of Friday, and that next second is the first second of Shabbos. When you're at the last second, when it's still Friday, you have to be able to access it and eat it. If it's not Suda, Ruya Mabojom, it doesn't work.
But by definition, it's not.
Well, in this case, it's not. In this case, because of the fact that it's Tevel, and you have to, and you can only eat it when it's Vaday Shabbos, then you didn't fulfill the condition. So Gemara says, really? Is that really a condition? Elohad Tanan, next question. Elohad Tanan, Rebbe Lozo Aima Yontif Hasamach L'Shabbos. If you have Yontif backing up into a Shabbos, Bein Milfanel, Bein Milachura, whether it's Shabbos going into Yontif or Yontif going into Shabbos, Ma'ariv Adam Shnei Eruvin, okay, that a person's allowed to make two Eruvs. This is our famous Rabbi Elazar of our Mishnah. Okay, now, right, so remember we said you can go 2,000 amos that way and make one Eruv in that direction. You can go 2,000 amos the other direction. Well, wait a minute. How if you're here 2,000 amos away, how in the world can you access the Eruv in the other place?
Right, that's what I said. You have to be home before Shabbos starts or before Yom Tov. So whatever it changes, you have to be back in your house.
Yeah, but even if in your house on Friday afternoon, second before Shabbos, it's really not going to work. In other words,
your house is in both Eruvs.
your house is the midpoint, correct, between both Eruvs.
So
but
you can be in your house.
But on Friday, can you walk one amma this direction out of your house? No. So that means it's not Roy on Friday. If it has to be Roy Mibo Jom, then when you have 2,000 amas here, so even if you are in your house, you're still not able to walk till...
Right, that was my question.
Okay, again, the Gemara now asked that question. So I said, look, I think you asked how'd you get there, right? You asked the question, how do you put the Eruv there?
Well, that was the other question.
Right, okay, but if you're asking the question now, then fine. If that's your question, then it's a good Gavada Galomdisha question, but we didn't yet know this principle of you need Suda, well maybe we did, you need Suda Ruyim Bojom. So the Gemara is now asking, well, wait a minute. If you need a Suda Ruyim Bojom, you have to be able to...
You can't get to that
right,
one.
I can't get to it on Friday. I have to wait till Shabbos to start walking.
You can't get to that one.
Right, I have to wait till actual Shabbos for sure to get to it, and now you put the cart before the horse, and now I can't get to it because the Eruv never became activated. Okay, so let's see here. Let's do the Rashi. So on this question, so how could Rabbi Elazar say? 1 second. Right. So right, that's what we're up to. How could that work? You need a Suda, which is fitting. Look at Rashi. Marav Adam Shnei Eruvin. And right now, we're of the opinion, right, which is the case we set up. The house is the midpoint between two Eruvs, 2,000 amis in either direction. When you have the first Eruv 2,000 amas away to the east, you have a boil mazel amayra ve'ir psia achas amotz yozel. You cannot take one step because you already maximized your 2,000 amas in this direction. You can't take one step in that direction. The mimoka miruva yeshal payim amal l'chol ruach. Right, because from the Eruv, all you have is 2,000 amas. And it's 2,000 from the Eruv until the city. Now, Rashi throws in, you could go all around the city, because the city is counted as just one area. Okay, since you slept in that house, it's all like one big dalaramis. Interesting, he says you slept in. If you didn't sleep there, then it sounds like it's a different halacha. Looks like there's a Rekiva Eger. Here. Okay, let's see. He says, Kivin the Lonba, because you're right, the assumption is you were out there Kiddush time, but then you walked back and you slept in your house Friday night. So he's saying, since you slept in your house Friday night, that makes the city like one big Dalan Amis. I thought it was always like that. Anyway, Kivin the Lamba, Kedal Amis Damula. It's like 4 Amis. Avot Tfei Loi. But you can't walk any more than the city limits. But anymore you can't. How could you be Kona the Erev to the west during Ben Hashmashos, during that transition period from Friday to Shabbos? You need that concept of being able to be eating it on the last second of Friday, and that doesn't work. I can't get to it. It's inaccessible. It's inedible because I have no ability to travel there until actual Shabbos. And actual Shabbos now I can't do it because I don't have an Erev that I can get to. So how does this thing ever work? This whole Rabbi Elazar's Shita can't fit if you learn that the Erev must be edible from Friday, from the last second of Friday. To which the Gemara answers back to the Gemara, what mi savrit, you're making a mistake. You're coming up with a case where the city is 2,000 amas away in either direction. Mi savrit amonachle b'sof apayim amal lakan b'sof apayim lakan. You think the case is you put a 2,000 here, 2,000 there? Loi. Okay, that's not the case. The manachle b'sof elef amal lakan b'sof elef amal lakan. Okay, you put it 1,000 amas away. Okay, so if 1,000 amas away on this side and 1,000 amas away on that side, so I can leave. I can get to it. Okay, so even though obviously the Erev is going to let me go 2,000 amas more, which I would not have been able to do without the Erev, but I can walk the 1,000 amas because from Erev to Erev it's 2,000 amas. It's not 4,000 amas. It's 2,000 amas. Okay.
And the city in between is only 4
Right, and the city in between is only 4 amas, so it only counts as minimal space. One more time. So misarva. Let me read that again. Misarva the monochle b'sof apayim amalakan b'sof apayim amalakan loy. The monochle b'sof elef amalakan b'sof elef amalakan. Okay, so that's the case. Look at Rashi. Do you really think b'sof apayim the su less slay litzad shek and egdo b'yom rishon klum? Do you think that it's a case where I have no access at all to go to the other direction? On Friday, that's not true. Lo demanach lebesov elef. The levet tzarich lemeiz lo b'rishon lo b'sheni elef shosh alofim. Right, I only need to travel 3,000 amas total, so I put it away 1,000. I put the Erev 1,000 amas away from the city. And I put it on each side. Even though yes, I acquired my shvisa, my abode was 1,000 amas away from the city. I can still go towards my Ma'ariv Erev, the Mimokum Eruva Shemizrach ad Erev Shema'ariv Apayim Hudahave. So I can't walk one more past that Erev, okay, on Friday, but I can walk to the Erev on Friday, and I can eat it. I can eat the challah. So since the challah is edible to me, I don't have to actually eat it, I just have to be able to eat it, so I'm able to be kona that place so that 2,000 amis beyond, I can then go. Fine. So Elamiyata, back to the Gemara. Wait a minute. No, not Elamiyata. 1 second. Yeah, Ella, not Elamiyata. Ella Hod Amar V'Yuda. Wait a minute. But that which V'Yuda says, Erev Baraglov Yom Rishon, Ma'arev Baraglov Yom Sheni, that if you make your Erev with your feet on one day, you can make it on the second day. You can walk out to the Erev and say, this is my place, and I can be Kona Shvisa. Or Erev Pas B'Yom Rishon, Ma'arev Pas B'Yom Sheni. If you make an Erev based on your Challah, then you can do it that way. You have to make the Challah on the second day as well. Put the Challah out and make an Erev for the second day. Why are you allowed to do that? HaKamechin Yontif L'Shabbos. Aren't you preparing on Yontif for Shabbos? Aren't you preparing on Yontif for Shabbos? I thought we asked this question already. Let's see Rashi. Erev b'pas b'rishon, ma'arev b'pas b'sheni, l'kamam forish b'osa pas. Okay, we're going to explain that it's with that same challah. So the Gemara's question seems to be, Ayva kamecha next Rashi, how could you make that Erev? Aren't you preparing on Shabbos or for Yontif or on Yontif for Shabbos, depending on which direction the 2 days are going in? K'shema'arev baragla b'sheni. Miyontif for Shabbos, when you go out and you walked back to that Eruv on Yontif to be able to acquire your Eruv for the second day for Shabbos, Bishleimo Ma'ariv Bishnei Bisheni Bapas, right? I understand when you answered me that you can make the Eruv with bread, I get that. Taratza the Tchias Yom Kona. Eruv, okay, you told me that the Eruv is Kona when Shabbos actually hits, so it's not really called a Chana. The Eruv the Pas Bishtika. And once I have my challah out there, do I have to say a word? Do I have to do anything? No. The challah takes care of itself. The challah is in its same place. I keep my mouth shut, and the Eruv takes effect. When does it take effect? On Shabbos. So it's not considered hachana right now because whatever happened, the key activation point was on Shabbos, not on Friday, so there's no hachana involved. But when you go out with your feet, which is the first case that reviewed is talking about, going out with your feet, that you have to say the magic words. Okay, what are the magic words? I acquire my place here. You have to say those words. Now, when do you have to say it? You got to say it already from Friday, because if you said it on Shabbos, it's too late. We're talking about a 1 second transition, that last second of Friday to the first second of Shabbos. In order to be sure that you're doing it before it's too late, you got to do it on Friday before it actually hits. You can't know exactly when the millisecond is of the beginning of the day. You have to say it on Friday, late afternoon, but before it actually gets to Vadei Shabbos. And once you say those words, Shivisasi bimkaimi, it comes out the Meichin Bamirasam Yontef Shabbos. That your Amira, so again, like we're splitting hairs, it's very fascinating that it has to be something significant that you're doing to qualify as a Chana. So if the pas just stands there, even though you brought it there, but the bringing it there is not yet, doesn't do anything, it only gets activated on Shabbos, it's not a Chana. But once you have to say something on Friday, that already should be considered a Chana, that should not be allowed. So I get the pas, you wiggled out of the bread problem, but you didn't wiggle out of the speaking problem. So what's the deal? How do you explain why the Eruv is valid in this case when you have to say something? To which Umar says, okay, the Azov is Shosik. V'yosiv. You think he has to go out there and say something? No. He just has to go out there and sit. And just be quiet and sit. Come on, Rabbi Yochanan Menuri. It's like, and it follows Rabbi Yochanan Menuri, the Mechefsei Hamokom Konen Shvisa. That the Chefsei Hefker, rather, Konen Shvisa, that if an item is just sitting there, it automatically acquires its place for the Eruv, and it can go 2,000 amis, as opposed to saying it doesn't work that way. So silence is golden in this case, and we'll see Rashi tomorrow. But the point is, you don't have to say anything to make an Eruv if you follow Rabbi Yochanan Menuri.